Hi guys, it's Cindy from Niroma Studio, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make these cute little macrame plant pods. These are the materials you're going to need for the project. One strand of rope that's cut 7 feet long, 18 strands of rope that are cut 4.5 feet long, and another strand of rope that is about 1 foot long. You'll also need a wooden or metal ring and a pair of sharp scissors. The 100-foot hanks of 4mm super soft colored rope work out perfectly for this project. You can find them in a bunch of different colors at niromastudio.com. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take that 7-foot anchor cord and put it up on your workstation. You're going to take those 18 strands of 4.5-foot cord and attach them to your anchor cord using a lark's head knot. If you don't know how to do the lark's head knot, it's quite easy. There's another video on this channel that will show you how. So you're going to put all 18 strands of rope onto that anchor cord. Next, we're going to attach that anchor cord that has our 18 strands of cord hanging from it by folding it in half and putting the two ends through your wooden or metal ring. I had a wooden one on hand, so that's what I'll be using. And you attach it using a square knot. Be sure to leave a few inches of hanging space between the part where you're attaching it to the ring and the sort of edge of the pod. We're going to be using that length of space to create a fun design. And in this example, I'm going to be creating a square knot picot. If you've never created one before, it's pretty fun and easy. You leave an equal amount of space between a row of square knots, as I'm doing here. I'm going to do one more square knot before I move them up, and you'll see the magic that happens. Now the fun part, scrunch it up, and you've got these fun little loops. It creates sort of a leaf fern-like design. This is the same technique that you can use to create macrame Christmas tree ornaments. If you just leave a little bit more space, it will determine the length of your loops. Now, if you wanted to maybe go a little less complicated or quicker, you could just be doing a spiral along this length of cord, or you could perhaps do a square knot sennet, or you can just kind of leave it if you want. It's really up to you. All right, I'm just going to finish up this little section and come right back to you. Okay, and now we're just going to go ahead and flip the project over and find the middle section where everything meets in the back of the pod, or what's going to be the pod when we're done. Let me just move the camera down a little bit and adjust. And we're going to join those two middle cords with a square knot. This pod project is really just a bunch of alternating square knots, and you'll see that as I continue going. That one square knot in the middle, and then as you go down, you're going to be joining all of this at an angle using square knots. And I think one of the cool things about this project is that it is pretty forgiving. I don't really think that you need to be measuring or counting all that much. Just use your eyes to see what looks even And you'll notice that as you continue on with your square knots, that the project will just kind of begin to take shape, the pod. And it is adorable, you'll see, as it forms. I mean, I think in general, one of the coolest things about macrame is that it is a pretty forgiving art form. I was actually talking to a friend of mine recently who just took up weaving, and she was talking about how she really loved using it as a creative outlet in such a forgiving medium, which I totally agree with. That rope and fiber and yarn can really be forgiving for those of us who are not too terribly precise. So I've come to the front middle of the project, as you can see. And I've just been creating square knots at an angle going all the way down. And here's the back side again. There's that middle piece, the middle square knot, and we'll start going down at an angle on the right hand side now. Joining everything with a bunch of descending square knots. And we'll do this until we get to the front middle of the project again. Okay, and I'm just going to move these end pieces out of the way. We're going to be actually doing something kind of fun to finish them off, but I just want them out of the way for now as I continue joining my strands with the square knots. Oh, looks like some of this kind of got out of the frame. So I'm going to just count and make sure I'm at the middle. And once I figure out that middle, I'm going to put a square knot right in the middle of the front of the project. And then I'll continue attaching and joining everything at an angle using a bunch of alternating square knots all around the project. I think at some point I will adjust the camera so you can see what I'm doing down there. So that's our middle section. You'll have a diamond of square knots right in that middle. And here we go with the adjustment. Now I'll flip the project around again just to get a better angle, a more comfortable position to create the rest of the project. So you see where this meets at a V, an upside down V. We're going to create a connection right there to create another diamond of square knots. So we're keeping our front and back centered, and you can see as the square knots will build themselves straight downward in the exact front and the exact back middle and the exact front middle. And that will help us keep everything symmetric. And again, we'll just continue going around the project using alternating square knots. Oh my gosh, if I say square knot one more time, are you going to kill me? But that's all we're using here, so I can't stop saying it. All right, going around the project. Now you'll see the thing with this pot is that we will be doing a lot of eyeballing, as I had said before. So you can just keep adjusting until it looks right. I keep going around the right-hand side and then the left-hand side as we meet in the front center. and I'll continue adjusting based on what looks right. Okay, so now that we can start to see our pod take shape, I'm just going to sort of test out and see how many more knots we're going to need and where I'm going to need to place them in order to create a cute shaped little pod. So if you can see, there's some empty space there and some empty space right there. I'm going to fill it in with some square knots. There's one there to join those, and I think right there I could use another one. At the end, we're just going to be using a gathering knot or a wrap knot. They're the same knot, but called both of those things. So again, I think I'm just going to need to fill in some space right there and right there with another square knot. Just to create a little bit of volume in the empty spots. You know, I'm sure there's a much more precise way to do these patterns, but I'll be honest with you, I really just like to kind of eyeball things. And I like that I have that kind of freedom. I know some of you probably want like an exact written pattern. Sorry, I just don't work that way. So if you can see, I'll just look around and see how it all kind of comes together, and it all looks pretty even. So I'm going to take it and close the entire project using a wrap knot in the end. It's pretty cute, isn't it? A happy little pod. All right. So in the next step, I will show you how to do a wrap knot. So here is our wrap knot. I'm going to be using this contrasting cobalt blue rope just because I think it's so pretty and it looks really good with the gold. So you just go around, you create a little U shape with your rope, wrap it around very tight, go around until you basically run out of cord. And again, if you need a really good thorough example of exactly how to do this wrap knot, I do have a video on my channel that will just show you how to do only this knot. So you're just going to pull that end through the little U that you made, hold it tight, and pull the other end up to tighten it. And then adjust a little bit, make sure that your ends are all tucked in nice and tight, and then you will take your sharpest scissors and just snip off the ends. And there's that last end right there, and it'll just sort of tuck into the wrapped portion. And it's a really secure knot actually, so don't expect it to be coming undone anytime soon. All right, it's looking pretty good. And then just the final step, I'm going to show you a fun little way to finish out the ends. Now, you don't really even need to do anything if you don't want, but because this is 3-strand rope, if you unravel these strands, you're going to end up with these 3 pieces. So I'm just going to go ahead and braid them. A regular braid, the kind that you learn when you're little. Okay, now that we're at the end of our braid, I'm just going to go ahead and put a quick knot in the whole thing to secure it. And you could either leave it as is or cut off the very end underneath that knot, and it just looks like a little ball on the end. Now that other side I'm just going to leave the way it is so you can kind of see the difference between the braid and leaving the rope intact. You could also put a bead on the end. It's totally up to you. And now for the very best part, popping in your plant. How cute are these macrame pods? Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and head over to niromastudio.com for all your weaving, macrame, and fiber art making needs. Thanks. See you next time.